North West say they've been left worse off because of changes to the age at which they can claim a state pension. The government made the changes in 1995, but critics say they weren't widely publicised. Claire Hamilton's been to Chester to meet a group of women campaigning to get access to some of the money they say they've lost.
They're hoping the government will change its tune on pensions.
As we stand to fight for justice, together hand in hand.
The WASPIs, Women Against State Pension Inequality, believe this anthem will chime with thousands of others who might not realise they won't get a state pension when they reach 60. Wendy Aitchis wrote the words. She says her plans for retirement have been shattered.
I had no chance whatsoever to save for my retirement for those extra 6 years when I thought I was going to get my state pension, and I'm having to use my life savings, which is going down all the time.
United we are standing.
My mum is one of these women from the 50s, and she didn't realise, and she's part of the choir. And I think there's probably hundreds more women out there who don't know that they're affected, and unfortunately are going to find out, not in the nicest way, because they haven't been told.
For many of us, pension planning is the ultimate turn-off. For the women affected today, back in 1995, when the state pension age was raised, they'd have been in their early 40s and far too busy to plan their far-off retirement. In any case, the Department for Work and Pensions didn't write to the women affected for another 14 years.
The hardest hit element of this group, that grouping, only got 2.5 years' notice, and that's no time. You know, when you're in your late 50s, you often might be facing early retirement or redundancy. There's just not a chance for you to do anything about it.
The campaigners say they're only asking for transitional payments to help the women who are struggling.
I was totally isolated. My sister and I would have endless conversations about this is not fair. But now we're in a group. We are a campaign, a bona fide campaign. We're hoping that we can bring more people on board.
The government says it's fair that women and men claim state pension at the same age.
Unwinding any of those decisions that were taken would involve people of working age, younger people, having to bear an even greater share of the burden of getting this country back living within its means.
We are WASPI, we want justice.
Tina, Wendy and Charlotte will join a chorus of 200 campaigners to sing their song in Westminster later this month.
We are standing, we strive.
Claire Hamilton reporting. Now, Frank, you chair the Commons Work and Pensions Committee. I'm not asking you to sing, but are you in tune with their concerns?
Well, I admire them. I think they've been a group of people who put their case well to us. They've now accepted what the committee recommended. The idea we can undo all these acts and so on, that's not on. What we said is that they could actually retire when they thought they could retire, but on a reduced pension. And there's clearly some money has to be borrowed to make that possible. There's a cost to taxpayers, but it's minor. But they wouldn't get the whole pension, but they'd pay for the reform themselves. And we're still trying to hope the government's actually going to move on that.
Is that something you'd like to see the government move on?
Well, I work with Stephen Crabb as his parliamentary private secretary, and I know the issue. I've met with the WASPI women in my own constituency as well. But the truth is, when...
Do you have sympathy for them?
I understand the concerns, but the issue was, this was fully debated in 2011. There was a concession of 1.1 billion from the government to help minimise the impact to a year and a half. And there's no room for further concessions, as the Secretary of State stated on the piece.
You can't do what Frank's just suggested.
Well, let's see what he puts forward. But all the numbers that I've seen suggest it's going to cost billions of pounds to bring about these changes, and the burden of that will fall unfairly on the next generation.
Certainly is not. We don't ask for billions, but there is a small cost, and I think they should be able to draw their pension earlier, because lots of them physically can't work. But they would sadly have to pay for it themselves because they get reduced pensions. Like when you retire early, you actually have a smaller pension than you would otherwise have if, in fact, you were if you could do the set number of years. But I agree totally with the government. One can't undo the big acts.
Well, they'll be lobbying Parliament with their view pretty soon, I think, and singing for them. But it's time for the rest of the week's news now. Here's 60 seconds.